Hello everyone, this is Ben Runner from the Academy of Gaming Film and Animation. So what we're looking at now is how we can get this sword to spawn in the character's hand. Now we're going to start looking at how to create objects using Blueprint, and then later on talk a little bit about classes, because this is an object-oriented sort of programming. When you're looking at classes, classes are the same instance of those objects. So if we were doing this properly, we would probably create a weapon class and then we would spawn a separate one for sword. Now, we're not going to do that because I really just want to show you how you can get this sword into the character's hand. But later on, when we start looking at bringing in, say, multiple weapons, then we'll start looking at having a master class for weapons and how you can have that one class there for all weapons and they'll all fit in there, and then you'll just spawn different instances of that. So you'll see it happening as we go through here, but we won't delve too much into it. We're really just going to create an actor, have that actor spawn in hand when we press 1, and then later on we'll look at, okay, what happens if I pick up this inventory, this item, where does it go, how do I make it so it spawns in the hand. But anyway, enough talking. Let's look at how we can get this in. So we already have an actor, a static mesh, sorry. So we need to create an actor. So I'm going to right click in here, go Blueprint class, and go to actor. I'm going to call this BP_sword. And I'm going to double click on it. And what I should be greeted with is this empty sphere. Now, we've looked at blueprints in our introduction to blueprints, so I'm not going to spend too much time going through this. If you want to, go back and watch that earlier video about Unreal Blueprints to become more acquainted to it. Because we're really just going to do a simple one here. That's just going to be adding in that static mesh. So I'm going to type in sword just to label it there. But then over here, type in sword. And go with sword 1. And it's already there in the right position. I'm going to hit compile. That's all I'm going to do with this one. Later on, when I create a pickup sword, I'll create a collision box to pick said sword up. And if it's a weapon, then I'll put a collision map on there for the damage. But for now, I just want it to spawn in there just for aesthetic purposes. So I'm going to exit out of this now and exit out of that. And I can see here, I have that sword in position. So when I press play, that's in there. The other static mesh with the physics on it is there glitching out, but this one isn't because we don't want any physics on it because we'll deal with collisions in a different way. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to delete that one and we'll start talking about, okay, that's good to have it on the floor, but how do we get it to spawn in the character's hand? So a little bit of knowledge here. If we're talking about the character's hand, then we're actually talking about having a socket in the character's skeleton that this can spawn from. So a socket's kind of like a little location within the bones that just tells Unreal where to spawn things, because it gives us a transform location here. So we're going to have to first go and create that. So we're going to go back into here, go back into mannequin and into character, into mesh. And it doesn't matter whether it's the male mesh or the female mesh, because we're just going to go to the skeleton here. So when we imported those skeletons to the swing, it's all using the same skeleton. And that's a really important concept in game design, because the less skeletons you have variations for, the better it will be for memory just to use that same one over and over again. So we're going to go with the right hand for this one. And as you can see here, I've already created a socket. So in fact, I'm going to go with the left hand just to be able to demonstrate this. So to create a socket, all I have to do is select it on here, right click and go add socket. Now if you don't see the skeleton tree, it could be because this is on. Just go over here to skeleton tree and you'll find it. So we right click here, go add socket, and now we can see hand L socket. So now I want to create a child object or a child actor in here that's going to spawn whatever I want in here. So I go add component, child actor. I'm going to call this one L hand. And now I can spawn any actor that is in here. So I could spawn, say, Streetlight on that hand if I wanted to. I wouldn't, but I could. I could spawn, you know, any kind of thing that's in there. But I'm going to go with sword instead. But as you can see, it's just sitting on the ground there. And that's because the parent socket over here is empty. Now if I click on here, nothing will happen. So I've got to click on the magnifying glass, and it will find all of my sockets that are in there. So I'm going to go hand L socket, and as you can see, it has now attached it to that hand. Now unfortunately, the rotation of that is not quite right. So rather than moving the bone, I'm going to move the socket, and I'm just going to rotate this into position. Now as you can see, it's following the animation, which is great because it means we don't have to reanimate anything. But what it does mean is I have to deal with this real-time animation. So to stop that, I'm just going to go up here and check that box there. What that's going to do is it's going to make it so that doesn't move. And so now I'm free to animate this without the widget moving all over the place. So there, and then down. Press F to focus in on it if it's getting lost. Into here, into there. That's good enough. We just want a demo. So anyway, we go there, we go real time, and hey presto, now when we're walking around the level, we are holding that glowing sword. Now it's glitching out a bit, and the reason for that is because we have a collision on the sword, and we have a collision inside the capsule. So to fix that, we're going to go back here to our actual sword. We're going to double click on this sword here. We're going to go down to where it says collisions, and instead of block all, for now we're just going to say no collision. Okay, we could have block all and then go down here and create a custom one and then have it so that it just doesn't block pawns or cameras, but for now we're just going to go no collision and just have that in there. So now when we press play, we can, so now when we're in here, we go no collision, we go save, so that should now save that. We should be able to go in here, and that should be working. Now, if it's not working, that could just be some other glitch that is happening. So, gotta put in none, and then put that sword back in. Cool. Compile. Check that. Still doesn't seem to be having any components there. That should all be good. I'm guessing that there is actually no character meshes there right as well. Alright, let's just see. Okay, so that is a bit weird. I'm going to see if when we spawn it in we have the same issue. We shouldn't do. Because really the collision should be fine now. It should just maybe take some time to update. But as I said in here, I want to make sure that you can actually press a button to actually spawn that sword in your hand. So I'm going to pick any button. I might just go with 1 key on the keyboard. And now we're going to spawn actor from class. So as I said before, you have these things called classes, which is basically a group of other actors that exist there. So later on, when we start adding in more weapons, we can have a master class there that's just weapons, and then specifically say this particular member of that class that's in here. But for now, we're just going to go straight to the sword that we've created, and it's asking for a spawn transform. So a transform is this sort of information here. It's location, its rotation, its scale, and we want it to appear here in the hand. So we're going to left click and drag this in here, and from left hand we're going to go get socket transform, and then we're just going to plug that straight into here. So that's where it's going to appear. Now when we go in and press 1 now, it should appear in there, but when I move, it just kind of floats there, and we just have all of these things, which all for some reason still have collisions, which I'm unsure about why. But we need to fix that. We don't want those to just spawn there. We want it to actually attach to an object. So this return value here is whatever we've spawned in here. So if I left click and drag out of here, or even here, and type in attach to, I can see now I can attach it to the actor, from actor to actor. That could work because it is an actor. I could go actor to component, which is probably closer to what we want, or I could go component to component, which we don't really want to do. So I'm just going to go actor to component, like so. So that's its target, and it's asking for a parent. It's a component, so I can bring in this component here and plug into here, and then I'm just going to go location rule and change this to snap to target for all of these. I'm then going to go back in here as well, and I'm going to try and figure out why it is that this still has collisions, because that really shouldn't. Oh, okay. So for some reason in the custom here for no collision, that still has has to ignore these but still block all of these, and that's not what over collision should do. Collision should basically ignore all of these. So I've probably done some sort of custom thing in here, and that's why that's done that. So I'm just going to go save that now. And yeah, now when we bring that into the world and press 1, no, we're still having issues with it. But as you can see, that actually brings it in when I press 1. There's nothing there, and then I press 1, and we have a sword there. So that's what we really wanted to do with this video. I will figure out exactly why this has decided that this can't do this. But yeah, that is odd. I'm just going to bring that sword into the level. That's definitely allowing us to overlap. So I don't know why when we spawn it, it's treating it as if it has a collision. So that is sword 1. The only thing I think is there is another instance of this sword that I am spawning in here. So I'm going to go back to content and type in sword. No, there is still just the one sword. Doesn't have simulate physics. Has inside the blueprint, the static mesh has block or dynamic, so make sure you check that. I did not think that was possible, but there it is. Because it's spawning the instance of that, this was fine, but this was not. So that's the reason we're having a little glitch there. So if we press play, press 1, and there we go. Now I can move around freely with this sword. You can check it now and you can see, okay, there's a bit of a problem with this positioning of the sword, is that the sword goes a little bit too close to the face there. So you can change that. But that's all we wanted to look at in this lesson, was how to spawn it. We can easily despawn it by having a flip-flop in here. So we press it once, spawns it, and then we press it again. We're going to go destroy actor. Make sure you don't leave it on self, otherwise it will kill your own character. But we want to basically get it to kill this actor that has been spawned. So now, press it once, it appears. I press it again, it disappears. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get that happening. And the next one we'll look at how we can sort of walk over, press a button, and pick up that sword. So that we can't do this and arm our sword unless we actually have the sword or not. So we'll look at that in the next video, but for now, if we can get to that point, that'd be amazing. Good luck, and we'll see you next time.